It's brutal. I want to talk about graph.com.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So tell us, what's graph.com and why'd you start building it?
Yeah, so it's an AI agent for marketing analytics. Our goal is basically to replace the data scientist, right? That like you would hire. I mean, I literally just had a friend have this happen to him where like they hired a data scientist for $200K, and basically it's like to answer these questions about their data that's like impossible to answer unless you basically like build a data pipeline, like build a data warehouse, and then also understand how to use like data visualization tools to create like, you know, basically like the graphs that understand the insights or like, you know, answer the questions that you're looking for. It's brutal. It's like you literally have to use the software to get the insight. And so our whole thing is like, hey, let's take that whole problem and put it into a single package. So it's like one click setup for all of your data connectors. We manage the data warehouse for you, optimizing that continuously. And then we're also building the like visualization software so you can just like chat with it, right? Imagine like a, you know, build a stacked bar chart showing new users versus total users over time.
Created my graph account earlier today. I'm excited to start getting some insights there. Like it is, I mean, data is a huge problem for so many companies, and wrangling it and understanding it across different platforms. So I'm super excited to use Graph. This is not your first company. You've built many companies before. How have you approached like building your finance stack this time around for Graph?
And then we're using obviously you guys like Fondo for all of our accounting stuff. It's just plug and play. Like I want to focus on product and selling people. Like I don't want to have to think about the accounting component of the business.
Awesome stack. And where can we find you online?
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter. It's Cody Schneider XX. Active on LinkedIn, YouTube.
Follow Cody. You can learn a lot from his Twitter and learn more about Graph. Let's go. Welcome, Cody.
What's up, man?
All right. So welcome back to the Startup Growth Podcast. We have a very special guest today. We've got the Cody Schneider, the founder and CEO of Graph.com. Thanks for joining, man.
Yeah, thanks.
So Kobe Conrad, shout out to Kobe, tweeted this yesterday. Cody was the first marketing hire on my team at Rupa and scaled us to 100 million in valuation. Everyone always asks, who's the best growth person you know? I always say Cody. He's in SF fundraising for his new startup. I was his first check. DM me for intro. So Kobe connected us. So thank you, Kobe. And it's awesome to have you, man. I've heard so many great things from Kobe about your days at Rupa and now building Swell and now building Graph. So would love to jump into the early days of Rupa. Could you tell us like what Rupa Health was and your journey there in growth?
So Rupa Health was a three-sided marketplace. It basically like aggregated all of these specialty labs that are like, you know, used a lot of the times in like functional medicine for chronic disease management. So we basically onboarded all of these labs, put them in a single place, and then we had the labs as a customer. I was one side of the marketplace. We had practitioners, and then we had patients, and we kind of sat in the middle as you know, a marketplace structure style business. So I joined as the first growth hire. I knew Kobe from like a past life. We met in like a business law class at college. Both of us were very disengaged with everything related to it. We were both like drop shipping at the time in totally different verticals. I was doing a lot of print on demand stuff and gaming, like Etsy and Amazon and their algorithms at the time, doing data mining. And then he was doing this is the time on Facebook where you could get like free reach from Facebook pages. Like he would drive like 2 million clicks for free a month from a Facebook page, like to the e-commerce store that he owned, and was doing all this SEO stuff as well. But anyways, we became friends for that. He recruited me. Like origin story is like at the time I was living out of a van chasing snow for the winter. I was with a buddy and called me up. He's like, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, nothing. Like, I'm not like, I don't want to be doing anything, you know? And he's like, well, I'm working at this company. Like, you should come. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not doing that. He's like, let me send you the data. Let's take a look at it over the weekend. I looked at it and it was like some of the most crazy, just like growth metrics I had seen. Like the word of mouth, like month over month that they were seeing was just unreasonable, right? Like, and so,
but you knew what to look for because you would have been doing growth for years at this point,
totally,
right?
Yeah. So, in a past life, like where I really I had this boss who went to YC. This is how I got indoctrinated. I went from ecom to working at a B2B marketing agency that specialized in like manufacturing companies. So they did like, imagine doors, windows, like the wood panels that go in buildings. Those types of companies that are like, you know, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 that nobody knows the name of, and they just print money. My role there was doing digital strategy for them. So I basically kind of like came up under this guy who brainwashed me to think like about B2B and like here's how to do this. And then all of that is really applicable to B2B software. So it's kind of ended up in that world. But yeah, so anyway, looked at the data. I talked to him on a Thursday, looked at the data on Sunday. I was like, I'm in. I met Tara, the co-founder, on Wednesday. Thursday, I got the offer letter. That Monday, I flew out to San Francisco with a double bag and had moved basically. So lived on a friend's floor for 2 weeks, found a spot in the marina, just like it was an extra bed in a room, like from a friend of a friend. And then, yeah, we just scaled it. That was how we ended up doing, kind of the beginning of it all. So
wow. And you 5x growth there, like pretty quickly.
it was crazy, man. Yeah. We went from like, 30 signups a month to like 280 in like 5 months. Largely it was just, growth like done really well was layering all of these different like flywheels together, right? So it's like you figure out a channel and you test 5 things, see traction with one of them, focus all of your like mental energy, money, resources, like everything basically gets focused there until you start to see the ceiling occurring on that growth channel. And then as soon as you start to see like that inflection point, the curve looks like this like S curve. As soon as you start to see that inflection point, you go and you layer on the next one. And that's how you create this like compounding, hockey stick style thing. And so we just basically did that in this category. Content ended up being a huge like driver of success for us there at Rupa. Grew a podcast from 0 to a top 20 medical podcast in 6 months. We grew an email list from 0 to 400,000 subs in like a year. We're hosting a webinar on a weekly basis where 5,000 people would tune in every Wednesday. Did a bunch of that. And so physicians are constantly sold to, very hard to get in front of them because they have capital. They're typically like wealthier when you look at their like socioeconomic status. And so because of that, the inventory is way more expensive to get in front of them. So we realized we had to make content from day one. And so we just literally, what we ended up finding is they don't care about business. They don't care about anything else except like patient outcomes. That's why they're in medicine. And so how do we like show like, basically there's these ways to this patient outcome. So go on a tangent into the whole health space. It's crazy, but yeah.
Okay. Let's dig into the webinar strategy. So was that the first one that really started working, or like how many things did you try before one thing really worked?
Yeah. So we started with ads because, easiest thing to spin up, like you can go live in 24 hours typically with like Facebook ads, Google ads. The strategy there is you go and you scrape your entire target audience's email addresses. So what we did is basically went and scraped all the directories, scraped all of Google Maps, and then you use tools like Hunter.io or any of these like lookup tools. Another one that I've done data dumps from before is called Targetron. Really sketchy website. I have no idea where it's at. It's somewhere in Southeast Asia. But basically what they do is you can just buy bulks on like, hey, I want to buy every nurse practitioner in the United States. I want to buy like all of their Google Maps data. You take those URLs, and then we built a application that basically would scrape their websites because a lot of them ran on like Gmails, right? It's just like Susie, Susie Cochran at gmail.com. So we built a crawler that would scrape their entire site to find those emails, and then pull, take the business URLs, put them into like Hunter, any of these lookup tools to extract the emails. That way, take those emails and then you put them into like Facebook ads. This was in the past. Now you don't need to do this as much because the targeting has gotten so much better. But previously, you would do that, do a customer match list. You'd only see about 30% of those like actually get matched because it's like a B2B, it's a business email. But with that though, you could basically like get your initial traction, do a lookalike audience, and you can basically like build this like exact target customer cohort. People don't use Facebook for some reason for like B2B. And I'm like, please continue not using it so I have more inventory, because it absolutely, especially right now, just prints money. It's ridiculous.
So that's like a lot of steps, right? Like a lot of people think about, okay, I'm gonna stand up ads. Like, what does that mean? Oh, I need to create an ad account and start putting together some copy and see what converts. But it sounds like it's not like that. Like it's how did you learn? Like you're like chaining together all these things like a scraper to find your audience, and then doing this. Like
it's so much easier now. So like 2025, like August 2025, we're recording this today. The game is totally different. It's now the volume of creative that you make, and the creative is actually the filter for finding the right audience. So say for example, you're trying to target small, or local business owners, right? So you make creative that speaks directly to them. You target all of Facebook, and then you set up a conversion event that is a user action that you're trying to get them to do. For most companies that are like SaaS, which is what I spend a lot of my time in, all my time in. It's like a sign up event and then a payment event. So you're basically sending both of those events back to like Facebook ads. And then what it does, you're testing all of that creative against each other. So our strategy is like you build like 100 pieces of creative. You take the like cheapest, you run those as CPC campaigns to see which ones get the cheapest clicks. You spin those out into their own conversion campaign and then you run them against each other. So say you find 5 that are outperforming, the rest out of that 100. You take those 5, you run those as a conversion campaign. And then what you'll see is of those 5, like typically like 1 to 2 of them will just like outperform on the actual conversion event that you're looking for, which is typically the payment. And then you can just back into that number where it's like, okay, cool. Like every dollar that we spend turns into $5 of customer lifetime value. We have a payback period of, whatever, 3 months. And okay, I need to spend X amount to get to like Y revenue number and, scale that up. The challenge with this for a lot of like software companies is that they actually lose money off of that initial transaction. So like, for example, these real numbers from a company I worked with in the past, the customer acquisition cost was about $89. The average revenue per customer per month was about $39. So our payback period was around 2 months. But the customer lifetime value was like $600, right? So you'd basically like pay the 89 to make 600, but you would lose money off of the first month. And for a lot of first time founders, this is something that they like, the unit economics is something they have to figure out and like understand that they're like, oh, I actually lose money on getting this customer. And that's okay. Like it's the value of the customer over the lifetime that ends up being more important. So,
oh, interesting. And so at what point do you usually recommend companies explore like Facebook ads or any paid at all?
I think before you even have product personally, like I was just talking to this like young founders and they're like between 3 ideas. And I'm like, guys, don't build anything. Like literally stand up a landing page with Claude Code, run ads to it, see which you get the cheapest signups for, like, or if somebody would even pay you, like go through the flow or start a free trial. Right.
Yeah.
Like if you can get somebody to give you a credit card, right. And like, you don't even have a product, like you're just like screenshots of what it could be. Like you got instant validation, go build that thing, or at least think about pursuing it. So like before you even have it. But how I think about it for like a lot of companies is you do, and like when you're an early stage company, you focus on transactional marketing. So like something that is going to make an action happen tomorrow. So revenue tomorrow, not revenue 6 months from now. I see this all the time with like first time founders where they like go and they like start SEO and like all of these long-term investments when they're like, in month 1. And in reality, like you don't need to do that. What you need to focus on is like paid ads, like cold DMs and cold email, and like get those 3 things locked in. One of them you're going to see more traction with. But once you have that and you have like, again, like a better way to think about it is like, why am I investing in this long-term thing if I am not going to potentially be there when that payoff happens, right? And it's like, I think about it as a financial portfolio. Like when you're a young person, like 80% of all the money that you make goes into surviving. And like maybe 20% or like, this is like in a best type situation is going to like, investing or whatever. As you mature as an individual, that portfolio, it swaps, right? It's the 20 and the 80 swap. So 80% goes into the more long-term, 20% into the short-term. You're just doing the same thing as a company, like but you don't start investing in that longer-term portfolio from like a marketing channel perspective until you have those like pieces where it's like, okay, we're gonna eat for the next 12 months because we've got these things that make revenue tomorrow.
We can afford to do a long-term bet.
Exactly.
How do you think about early signal and like benchmarks? Like let's say, so you mentioned paid, cold email, and cold DMs.
Cold DM, yep.
So for ads, like, is there a click-through rate or a conversion rate that
I'm all
would be
just looking
good,
at
or
like,
what?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the CAC number, right, on the
Okay.
paid ad side. So specifically, like, if I put again that dollar in, and I know that $4 to $5 of customer lifetime value can come out of that, and I know that our product's going to get better as time goes on, so that number of customer lifetime value is going to increase. So a piece of this, though, is you have to think about, like, there's this rule they call the law of shitty click-throughs, right? It's this book Andrew Chen wrote on basically like the cold start problem. The idea is that when you start, for most companies, it depends on the category that you're in. Like we're in a category where ads will never work for us. Like Graft as a company, like it's going to be very hard to do ads. Like, so we have to figure out really unique marketing strategies. We've talked about this offline. I will probably not talk about it here just to not blow the spot. But the angle here is that like when you start out in the beginning, you typically see that CPCs are cheaper and less competitive. But as time goes on, as more competitors and incumbents enter the market, that arbitrage goes away. And so you basically have like a customer acquisition cost that increases over time. This is somewhat changing now, like as new inventories come to market. So like, for example, like in the early days of Facebook, you could get $1 or you get 1 cent CPC clicks, right? Because there was just like so much inventory for you to bid on. That's how Wish.com actually became $1 billion company, is because they were basically, abusing this new channel that was like, it's just underpriced media. And I know we're going to probably talk about this at some point on like specifically what's happening in TV streaming ads. But anyway, yeah.
Dude, let's jump into the TV streaming ads because that's really interesting. What is going on in programmatic TV?
Yeah. So I have a buddy that's in this space. He comes from the out of home, like advertising. So when I say that, think of like billboards or whatever, right? But ended up in digital out of home. And then from that, he got into basically this like TV streaming. And the thing that it's crazy, man. I've seen the data. They're getting like 80 cent CPMs on like local TV, right? So, and you can target these individuals like off of like a customer match list, right? Which is nuts. And how they're tracking it is like directly attributable because an individual watches this ad, like say they're watching Hulu or whatever, they watch this ad and then they go and they Google something on the same like IP, right? And make that purchase and they can like directly attribute that to the house. It's crazy. Wow. And so it's like, this is like, when I talk about arbitrage, like that's actually what you need to be focusing on as like a founder is like for every moment in time, and for every product, there's like a product like channel fit that exists. And the channel that is going to be the fit, typically you're looking for an arbitrage that isn't being exploited currently. The best way to find those arbitrages is like look where people spend time online that like isn't really saturated yet from like an advertising standpoint or is hard to market in. This is like another piece of it. Like if there's like kind of this like cumbersome process to like get in there that's actually like good. Like I look a lot of the times I think about it as like illiquid like places. I see this in influencer marketing a lot in particular. Like people are like, oh yeah, I go to this like influencer marketing hub and like they have like the prices of like, what the individual like per post costs. And I'm like, no, you don't want that. Like I want illiquid markets. I'm going to pay you whatever, 800 to 1,000 for that. Get 5 of those working together simultaneously. What typically happens is you'll see an outlier occur with like every 10ish to 20ish posts that happen. That outlier format, you then take that, you give it to the rest of the creators, and you're like, cool, this worked. Now you go do an iteration of that. So it creates this like kind of like flywheel, and then you can scale that up or down as much as you want on the creator side of like, oh, I have 5, I have 10, I have 20 creators.
Wow.
So,
and do you pay hourly or per piece of content?
Typically per post is what it ends up being. Yeah. So it's like that 900 for 30 like posts, right? Or something that. I would do that. And then you just like cut the fat. Like you're going to find outlier creators that are better within your category. Be, just super aggressive with like, oh, these are underperforming. And it's just a CPM number. So the reason that you do this rather than going to like paid ads, right? So going to like Instagram or TikTok. So the average CPM, right, or it's cost per 1,000 views on like a TikTok or a Facebook ads is TikTok is I think around $7. Facebook's like $5.50. At least that's what they say. I think it's probably more. But anyway, so if you can get under that CPM by using these creators, then you're basically getting cheap. That's the arbitrage, right? Like that's the distribution arbitrage. You're getting cheaper CPMs than what you could pay the platforms for. And so what this ends up being is like a way for you to basically get this reach on this platform at a cheaper cost. So just put numbers on it. Like if you can get it around like $2 per 1,000 views, that ends up being better. Also, we see like the organic content that will go viral. I mean, this all comes from the outlier, right? So like the 10% of posts will create 80% of, 90% of all of the views that happen on that creator's account. And so you're just betting that outlier is going to happen. And that's how you get that discounted CPM. So.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's really helpful. I want to talk about graph.com.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell us what's graph.com and why'd you start building it?
Yeah, so it's an AI agent for marketing analytics. Like our goal is basically to replace the data scientists, right? That like you would hire I literally just had a friend have this happen to him where like they hired a data scientist for $200K. These like an ex-Uber that joined their team. And basically it's like, to answer these questions about their data that's like impossible to answer unless you basically like build a data pipeline, like build a data warehouse, and then also understand how to use like data visualization tools to create like, basically like the graphs that so you can understand the insights or like, answer the questions that you're looking for. And so we're basically taking that problem that like every marketer is facing, every person that runs a business is facing, of like, how do I understand the data and like, you know, get it to a format, or like, for example, if you try to learn Tableau or Looker Studio or like, you know, Power BI, like you're going to invest months to become competent.
It's brutal.
It's brutal. It's like you literally have to use the software to get the insight. And so our whole thing is like, hey, let's take that whole problem and put it into a single package. So we handle like, it's like one click set up for all of your data connectors. We manage the data warehouse for you, optimizing that continuously. And then we're also building the like visualization software, so you can just like chat with it, right? So it's like, imagine like a UI where it's like chat on the side, dashboard in the center, and I can be like, you know, build a stacked bar chart showing new users versus total users over time, create a line of best fit showing, you know, the slope of growth or decrease, and make that as a week over week graph or a month over month or a day over day. And you can just do that. So
I created my graph account earlier today, connected my Google Analytics, my HubSpot. So I'm excited to start getting some insights there. Like it is, I mean, data is a huge problem for so many companies, and wrangling it and understanding it across different platforms. So I'm super excited to use Graph.
I think the biggest thing that we're seeing too is like everybody's trying to solve this right now, but like you just can't even do this because like there's so much data. Like we onboarded a client, like they had like, you know, 25 million rows of Facebook data alone. Like if you tried to plug that into like any AI solution, like there's no way. Over. Yeah, you literally hit rate limits. So you have to solve this problem of the data warehousing piece to be able to solve the insights. And so how we're thinking about it is like we augment, you know, a data person to begin with. And then from there, like, you know, this is the value prop of, you know, what we're trying to do. Like augment the data person. Like, can we replace the data person? And then can we have it be like, almost like godlike, right? Where it's like, it's just looking at your data constantly and like researching on the internet. And like you wake up on a Tuesday and it's like, hey, the last week I've been doing this. Like you get a Slack message and it tells you all this insight about your company and all the opportunities that are there, what you need to do to like, you know, grow as a company. And like all this technology exists right now to handle this. And to do this, it's just going to take, you know, basically we're building the stack, you know, the innovation stack that's necessary to accomplish that. So
I love it. I love it. Well, you can check it out, graph.com.
Yeah, man. Plug.
Yeah, dude. I love it, man. So this is not your first company. You've built many companies before. How have you approached like building your finance stack this time around for Graph?
Yeah, so we did Stripe Capital. It's so easy. Like, I mean, it's $500 and they handle everything, which is amazing. We just did a Delaware C. And the biggest thing I think with like, not Stripe Capital, Stripe Alice. But the biggest thing with them is there's so many perks that comes from it. Like it's like instant into Carta, instant into Mercury. Like we're super early, so we don't even have like payroll or those other solutions, and like we know that that's there and like a part of it. So it just solves those problems. But those are kind of the core pieces. And then we're using obviously you guys like Fondo for all of our accounting stuff, just because it's like it's just plug and play. Like I want to focus on product and selling people. Like I don't want to have to think about like this other you know the accounting component of the business. Like you know, understanding like our money flow is critical, but like especially as like a startup, like we need to be able to build product and sell it. Like those are like, you know, 90% of our energy needs to be there going there. So
awesome stack. And I want to talk about the growth that Graph has had and how you're getting all these customers. And I know we're out of time, so maybe you can come back.
We'll come back next week.
Yeah. We'll hopefully we get Cody back. Where can we find you online?
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter. It's Cody Schneider XX, and then I'm active on LinkedIn, YouTube. If you just Google me, it should come up. If it doesn't, like I'm very bad at my job. So yeah.
Cody is one of the best growth people in the world. I mean, you'll read about it all over Twitter. He's in SF just for a short period of time. I know your round is like oversubscribed pretty much at this point, but you know, follow Cody. You can learn a lot from his Twitter and learn more about Graph. Thanks so much for joining.
Dude, thanks for hosting me, man.
All right. Yeah.